You might not believe this, but with Britain's history of bloody empire, but we actually get a little bit homesick sometimes, us Poms. And it's been a long day for us all, so I was hoping that you might better join in with a bit of a chant here to help us Brits here in your land, in Aboriginal land, and the Brits working hard and tirelessly for empire in the British High Commission to make us feel a bit more at home and conjure up our green and pleasant lands. Now this is an oldie and a goldie, and it goes like this. Tony Blair, you can't hide! You should be charged with genocide! Tony Blair, you can't hide! You should be charged with genocide! Thank you very much. Warmed my cockles. So anyway, thank you. As you can see, Blair's government, like so many British governments before him and since, have a proud tradition of facilitating wars of terror to turn a tidy profit. Australia followed in the steps of the colonial American campaign when in 1789 the first fleet's captain recorded in the journal as he sailed into Sydney that he had a series of bottles of smallpox rattling away in the holds of the first fleet ships. It can be no coincidence that in that very year an outbreak of smallpox in Sydney killed 1,000 Aboriginal people. 90% of native families were effectively murdered by this unseen killer, and resistance to the British land and resources grab died with them. Flintlock rifles and biological warfare characterised the founding of Australia, and much of it was supplied by Britain. Britain to this day denounces the use of similar biological and chemical weapons when deployed against civilian populations in Iraq and Syria. But if it was truly opposed to terrorism in all its guises, then Britain would surely get out of the arms trade. Instead, the British government cloaks itself in a cloak of outraged morality, whilst at the same time hosting and sponsoring the largest arms fair in the world, the Defence Systems and Equipment International. In fact, the British government is so outraged by human rights violations that last year's convention hosted 1,400 exhibitors from all around the world, all of whom came to proudly show off their latest range of life-unfriendly rifles, tanks, fighter jets, battleships and drones. This hive of villainy also played host to the very company which supplies President Assad with 78% of its conventional weaponry, and the tear gas manufacturing companies which supplied the canisters which killed and injured civilian protesters from Bahrain, Egypt, Turkey and Brazil. So, at last year's arms fair, half the world's militaries turned up. But the UK government refused to reveal the list who they had invited. They were presumably afraid that it would affect their profits. The list of attendees ended up including many authoritarian countries currently embarking in wars and armed conflicts against their own civilian and First Nation peoples, a number of which the UK Foreign Office classifies as of concern for human rights violations. So, with a track record like that, it comes as no surprise to discover that the last 5 arms fairs, 4 of them were selling torture equipment. Let's just take a moment to reflect that on the day the Twin Towers attack, London was hosting an arms fair which was selling weapons of terror, like cluster bombs, to assorted tyrants and human rights abusers from all around the world, all with the full backing of the Blair government. These arms fairs, they're all part of this global network of arms dealing. And we'll be kidding ourselves if we don't think they tried to turn up on our shores in Australia. And they did 3 years ago. But protesters like you shut them down in Adelaide. And they're going to come back again. They're going to try and start other arms fairs here. And protesters like us will stop them again. Yeah. And we're going to let the arms industry know that Australia is not open for business, it's open for resistance. Yes. Tony Blair, you can't hide. You should be charged with genocide! Tony Blair, you can't hide! You should be charged with genocide! Thank you very much. Warmed my cockles.
Your what?
Cockles.
Ah.
You're going to get some English vernacular now.
Is that a teeny peeny?